Summer Academy to present our Gateway GIS virtual speaker series starting today with Miss Bronwyn Morgan. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Morgan, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roz, and thank you, Mr. Bass and Mr. Ferguson. I'm sorry, this is my seventh Zoom this week, and there have been varying points of difficulties, just the nature of the beast. We're here now, and that's all that matters. I am Bronwyn Morgan, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about me right now. I'm actually at the office downtown St. Louis here at T-Rex in the Geospatial Innovation Center. I am going to share my screen, if that's all right. Everybody's doing all right today? Show me something. I need it. Let me tell you, I need it.
Okay.
All right, here we go. I grew up in East St. Louis. I'm kind of back. I live between Atlanta and East St. Louis and St. Louis. I have been here taking care of my mom, and it has been a lot. But I am here working hard, and she's awesome. Let me tell you a little bit about what I do. Can you see the screen right now with the planets on it? Can you guys see the Earth, the Moon, and Mars?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I want to talk to you about UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles on and off planet, and how it's changing aerial flight. I'm an entrepreneur, innovation consultant, futurist, and I'm a UAV pilot. There's my little drone, almost. So when I was a little girl growing up across the river in East St. Louis, I am an only child, and I used to play a lot in the backyard. And I wanted to be a fighter pilot. I wanted to go to the University of Illinois and become an aerospace engineer. I wanted to work at the Jet Propulsion Lab, and I wanted to be an astronaut. And that little image is very similar to what I used to do. My dad would make stuff for me, and I was doing stuff all the time in my world. I did go to the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. I did not leave with a degree in aerospace engineering. I actually just hung up with the University of Illinois. I just got to doing a session with them, so I'm still very involved with the university. But I want to talk to you about my life 400 feet above ground level, and you'll see why that's important. I am the founder of two companies in the geospatial and UAV space, Zeo Air and Airversity. Let me tell you about them. Airversity is a drone pilot training academy and consulting firm. Let Lisa in. And we operate out of 9 different cities, mostly online right now during COVID, of course, because we want to make sure everybody stays safe. So we help people prepare for the FAA exam to become a professional drone pilot, and that's called Part 107. Every pilot, helicopter pilot, commercial pilot, private pilot, fighter pilot has a designation called a part something, and it's how the US government identifies training levels and standards. So I am an FAA certified drone pilot, and we want to help people do that as well. We do ground school and flight school. We do that for public safety, so law enforcement, fire, and law enforcement, as well as the private sector. So companies that want to bring their drone ops in-house. We also offer this to kids, boot camps and training at different ages. And also we have an online program through our partners at UAV Coaching. You can actually take the Part 107 online at your own pace. We also do consulting out of this company. FAA, Part 107. This is a lot. Let me just give you a brief synopsis. This is what allows me and other professionals to fly safely throughout the national airspace. You have to be 16 to take the exam, just like to drive a car. This allows us to fly equipment that's greater than between half pound up to 55 pounds is what I can fly with my certification. You have to be able to speak, read, write English, be in a pretty good physical and mental condition to be able to operate very safely, pass the FAA exam, and you have to take it over every 2 years so that you're current. And what this allows us to do is to operate across all the different airspaces, but primarily in the G airspace. Airspace discussion is a whole separate class I could take you through on all the different airspaces and what it looks like over any given area or city. We have to keep our aircraft in what's called visual line of sight. I can only fly my drone as far as I can see it. That's also true for hobbyists. If you've got a drone, these rules apply to you too, even though you may not know them. I am limited to 400 feet above ground level. That's how high I can fly. Now I can fly higher than that, and I'll give you an example. Does anybody on this call know how high the St. Louis Arch is? Well, it's
65 feet.
yeah, 663 feet. Awesome. What nerd said that? Is that you, Miss White? I'm a nerd too. Listen, I call that useless cocktail party conversation. I'll walk around with useless facts like how tall the Eiffel Tower is, but I just kind of find that stuff cool. I technically cannot fly over the St. Louis Arch for two reasons, but then there is only one way that I could. One, it is above 400 feet, right? We've established that. It's a national monument. You cannot fly drones above national monuments in the United States. They're off limits. It is in airspace C, based on Lambert Airport. We are within the sea airspace here. And that means that the Air Traffic Control Center manages the airspace as far out as St. Louis Arch. So I would have to get approval to do it. For me to fly above the arch, let's say I was doing it for the National Park Service, and that's who manages the arch. They wanted to do a marketing video or they wanted to inspect the arch. I would get their approval. I'd have to get the FAA's approval because I have to have a special waiver. And then I'd have to get air traffic control's approval to let all aircraft who are flying in and around the St. Louis Arch to know that I will be flying at a maximum altitude of 1,063 feet. So that's the 663 for the arch plus the 400. So this is kind of the complexity of what we do. It's not just putting drones up in the air. There's a lot. We have to fly during the day. We cannot fly over people. We cannot fly over property without people's permission. And I can only go as fast as 100 miles or 100 miles per hour. I would never be flying that fast. I think my drone only actually goes 55 miles an hour, but I would never have a need to go that fast. But these are some of the things that our certifications as drone pilots allow us to do. My second company is Zeo Air, and Zeo is the tech company. Zeo is an outsourced drones as a service company. So what we do is we provide customers with the ability for mission management so that we can collect geospatial and photogrammetry, basically all data from above. We use sensors such as still images. You just want a picture of something or several pictures at different elevations, different time of day, 4K high definition video, thermal. Certain things may not necessarily be visible, but they emit a temperature change. We can actually use thermal sensors. We use LiDAR. Like radar is radio frequencies. If you're driving fast, cop points the radar gun at you, it sends out a radio frequency, tracks your speed, sends the data back to him. Submarine uses sonar, bounces out a sound frequency wave, just picks up an object, tells you how big it is, how close it is, and it can listen to the pings to determine if it's organic or if it is man-made. We use LiDAR, which is light. I send out a light frequency and it tells me about an object that I can't physically see. Underwater, underground, there's a lot of use cases for LiDAR. And then we also use other sensors called hyperspectral and multispectral, mostly used in agriculture. But what we do is we call...
Pardon me, Miss Morgan, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We got a couple people in the waiting room. Can you let them?
Oh, sure. All right. Waiting room. There we go. Okay. Make sure I get it. If not, I'll give it back to you and let them in.
Okay.
I'm gonna toss it back over to you.
Okay, give it to Mr. Bass.
All right.
If you don't see them there, then I'll call them back. I don't want to.
All right. Hang on one second.
Because only the host can let them in.
Right. Let me pop it back over to you. What is going on?
Yeah, I'm sorry about this. I really
It's
am.
okay. No, it's okay.
Text messages and
$1 billion in the global drone market. I think that's going to be twice, if not triple that, especially now that we're in COVID. and a need for touchless everything is important. This means amazing levels of new jobs. These are places that you can start to work for and work with. St. Louis happens to be a very special place. I live and have operations here in Atlanta, so I'm between the two, as I said. St. Louis is becoming a very interesting destination because it is now a new geospatial center across the country and soon probably the world. And with the NGA moving to St. Louis, there'll be so much more emphasis on this space. Now, geospatial is a big word. There's a lot that makes it up. That's satellites, it's anything that's capturing what's happening below from above and using that data to make lots of different decisions. So we are a UAV company and we collect data based on what we do. From a sales perspective, this industry is growing. Over 7 million drones are expected to be sold this year alone, and it's continuing to climb very aggressively. There are over 130,000 people like me who are Part 107 drone pilots. All of my pilots are Part 107 certified and insured professionals. And there are over 1.2 million registered drones. If you are flying a drone above a half a pound, you have to register it with the FAA. There's a place called FAA.gov, and you go to the drone zone. It costs $5 per drone, and you register it. And you get a tail number, just like on an aircraft, and you have to put it on your drone. And that is going to soon eventually become law. Why? And how did we get here? Well, it all started off with recreational drones. I'm not sure how many of you guys have ever flown remote in small aircraft. I have. It's fun. And that morphed into quadcopters. And there's loads of them out there. You can go online now and get a nice little drone for fun for $20 or $30 and have a great time. Less than half a pound, enjoy it in your backyard, have a great time with it. But then that morphed into larger equipment. The professional Part 107 certification came out with the FAA, and then we started to move into drones as a service. Before that, there were some other FAA designations, but I won't bore you with that. So now we're moving into this space in kind of what I do here in drones as a service. Now we're moving into autonomous services, which is also something that we're working on and we're about to test. And then that is morphing into package delivery. And I'm sure you've seen lots of videos about this. If not, I'm going to share that with you. Can you imagine not having to go to the grocery store, especially now, and having to deal with these masks? Get your Walmart, your Walgreens, your CVS, your pizza, your Schnucks, your Lowe's, Home Depot, your ice cream, your coffee, your shoes from Amazon delivered right to your house. Well, that is what's being tested. And then the next evolution of that are flying cars. I work here in drones as a service, autonomous, and also in flying cars. I showed you two companies, and I don't even think Dr. Ross, Mr. Bass, and Mr. Ferguson know, but I have a third company. It's been a really busy time for me in the flying cars. I'll talk to you about that later. Let me share with you a little bit about industry. And I want to make sure you can hear me. So I'm going to share computer sound. I'm going to share with you a little video. I want you to check it out, all right? This is how drones are being used in industry. a lot happening there. That previewed a lot of different drones, a lot of different types of upcoming capabilities and how drones will be used. This is where we're going. And it's very dynamic and amazing. And the part of what you're seeing here is some of the work that I do, but in a very different capacity. Let me talk to you now about something we started off a second ago, and that's drone delivery. There are three things, if you remember, or I don't know if I really went over them very much on this part 107 slide, that we can't do right now. We cannot fly our drones over people. We can't fly at night, and we cannot fly beyond visual line of sight, which is what BVLOS means. Wow, that's a lot, right? So if I want to fly over people at night or beyond visual line of sight, I have to submit to the FAA what's called a request for a waiver request. And that is when they would look at all the things I am proposing, who I'm flying for, when I'm flying, why I'm doing it, do I have a history of safety, my insurance, and approve if I can do any of these things for a very specific amount of time. Because we've not perfected this yet, and we're making sure that we don't hurt people. Hard to see a drone at night, it's so little, so we have to have lights on our drones. So there are a lot of things you have to take into account when you do this. The other big factor in our industry in limiting capability, or factor, it's not a capability, it's a limiting factor right now, is our equipment. Right now, most of our equipment only last about, the battery's about 23, 25 minutes max. I actually am about to purchase some drones that fly for much longer as a part of some testing that we're going to do. But batteries, of all things, are a limiting factor. So even if I wanted to fly beyond visual line of sight, so let's say I'm downtown right now, I wanted to fly to Forest Park, I can't do that. I can't see the drone. That drone could be anywhere, and that creates a hazard. But then from a battery perspective, by the time I got from downtown to probably, I'm flying really fast, I might make it to Barnes. I don't know if I could even make it as far as Barnes Hospital. That drone's coming down because the battery can't last that long. And the faster I go, the more battery power I use. So I might make it over to the Chaffetz Arena. That's probably about as far as I'm gonna get. So we gotta have better equipment, bigger equipment to fly longer. And the other thing that you see here is the word UTM, which means unmanned traffic management. And just like air traffic control at the airport, the guys that sit in the towers manage your flight. They manage your aircraft when you're flying. So when you take off from, let's say, St. Louis, let's go somewhere fun. So we can't really do too much during COVID. Let's say we were going from here to LA. Going to a movie premiere. That used to be some of my work years ago when I worked in entertainment, when I worked for Coca-Cola. I took a lot of customers to different entertainment events and shows and Grammy Awards and all that crap. But when you leave here and you fly out, St. Louis Tower, after you leave here, you're then picked up by Kansas City, depending on the route the pilot is taking. And then he passes you on over to Tulsa. And then you're going all the way over Salt Lake City, Denver. Salt Lake City will pick you up, and depending on what route the pilot is going, if he's going south, he'll get finally into LAX's territory. And then based on your transponder, they know exactly where you are. They can see you on the radar. And the pilot is also talking to the towers. If they have turbulence, hey, I need to ascend because I want to make sure my passengers have a smooth flight. I need to descend. I saw a UFO, whatever the issue may be. They always know what's happening. Well, drones are tiny. You can't see us on radar. We don't have transponders. So UTM will allow us as an industry and the FAA to create a safety matrix in the sky so that you can know where we are at all times. Because if you've got thousands of us in the sky at once doing delivery, inspecting and mapping things for fun. You've got helicopters, you've got military aircraft, commercial aircraft. The sky is going to get pretty crowded. And so some of the technology that's also being worked on is called detect and avoid, or sense and avoid. And it will allow us to fly autonomously and not bump into each other and crash. Also crash into buildings or other aircraft. So we have to know where we are in the sky, not run into each other and run into things. And this system called UTM is being developed right now. And that will help us do this drone delivery. So right now, there are tests happening in places like Canberra in Australia, as well as in Virginia here in the United States. Companies like UPS, Wing, which is a division of Alphabet, which is a division of Google, is doing testing. And they're partnering with fast food restaurants, cafes, drugstores to deliver right now in suburban areas. Right now, also in the States, UPS is partnering with a company called Matternet out of North Carolina, and they're doing medical deliveries. And they just got, I think it was earlier this week or late last week, the ability to expand their services during COVID. So they could be delivering very sensitive medical equipment, small equipment, very small medications. You know, the box is only about that, so big. And then eventually they could do organs. Let's say you're in a situation where you've had a car accident and you need an immediate organ transplant, or somebody is waiting and they're transporting one from someone who's unfortunately passed away. You can get this stuff up and around a city in a matter of no time versus trying to go through traffic. But what they're doing here with what you're going to see here is pretty amazing. So take a look.
Google's parent company, Alphabet, got the okay to officially open its drone delivery service in the US, an important first for the drone industry as a whole. The Federal Aviation Administration approved air carrier certification for the company's Wing Aviation unit Tuesday. Wing has been testing its drone delivery service in Australia for a while now. In an announcement, Wing says its drones have flown over 70,000 test flights and more than 3,000 deliveries in the country to prove the service is safe. With the approval from the FAA, Wing says it'll start testing in Southwest Virginia over the next several months.
Well, they already have. And so far, so good. And I think what we're noticing is that with COVID, then, like I said earlier, the need for this is being accelerated because of our need to shelter in place. And so the FAA, as well as private sector companies, are looking at how can we speed this up, because it will make all the difference in the world. But you have to be safe. So if you look at this image, you got this kid here. Now, if this delivery was scheduled and he didn't know it, this wasn't just for video purposes, we don't want that to take this kid out, knock him out, and now we got problems with parents wanting to sue us. So we got to find a way to do this safely. How can we do this? How will you be notified by your phone that your delivery is on the way? Or also order it, your delivery's coming, I'm not at home, can I delay it? All these things we'll have to take into consideration. But this is now a reality. It's just going to take us a while to figure out how we make this happen safely. Let's talk a little bit about urban air mobility, which is a place that I'm also playing in. So how many of you guys have obviously seen the Jetsons? Everybody. Well, it's here. The Jetsons are here. One of my favorites. I saw Mr. Bass raise his hand. I have always loved the Jetsons. I mean, think about it. What we're doing now was on the Jetsons, and I was like, oh man, that'll be cool one day to see people when I'm talking to them. Well, it's happening. I'm seeing a whole lot of people every day through this capability. Robotics, it's a reality. And now the flying cars are becoming a reality. So what you're going to see here is where we're going, and this is all happening in a very short period of time. What the aircraft that you see here is called VTOL, or vertical takeoff and landing. Most likely will be flying in very uncluttered airspace. As I mentioned with my drone, it was 400 feet above ground level unless I'm inspecting a structure, and I can fly 400 feet above that with the proper approval. Here, these will operate somewhere between 500 to 5,000 feet above ground level on an ongoing basis. And that'll be their primarily cruising and work altitude. They'll be able to carry in from 5 to 50 passengers in a very short range, probably up to 50 miles. This is more urban, and that's why it's called urban air mobility. Emergency air ambulances will be using this, first responders, tour guides, but also just for general transportation. How many of you guys have ever taken an Uber? Uber? Kenyatta's looking like a what? She's like, wait, what did she say? Uber. Okay, Kenyatta, you don't give me the crazy look about the Uber. She was like, what? I can't see everybody's faces, but I'm pretty sure you guys all have. If not, you will. Imagine, Kenyatta, I'm gonna make this about me and you. Imagine, and how would you like it if your Uber was in the sky? Would that be kind of cool? Yeah, this is what's coming. Well, take a look at this. This is a piece of equipment by Bell Helicopter. This is their urban air vehicle. There's Kenyatta. There she is, waiting to get on.
Very rapidly, but for what we thought we wanted.
So this is the reality that we're dealing with right now. This is exactly what's coming. And I won't even say what's coming, it's what's here. Have you guys, so you've heard of Uber. I'm not sure if you've heard of their Elevate program. Well, welcome to Uber Elevate. I really like their tagline, closer than you think, because that's very true. Uber Elevate is working on aerial ride sharing right now at scale. They're planning to broaden their current testing, which is taking place in LA and Dallas, and also in, oh gosh, not Manchester, I forgot the foreign city, by 2023. And this will be between suburban and urban areas using a small fleet of these vertical takeoff and landing equipment, like it's not the Bell one that you saw, but similar. And so just like with drones, the whole thing that we're focused on right now is infrastructure and then safety. We need to make sure that this is safe. And what you're seeing over here to the right are drone ports, or at least concepts. I've actually been invited, and I speak about drone ports, UAM, UAVs. This is kind of like my world now. And my third company, we haven't published the brand just yet, is working on artificial intelligence and training standards in this area. So you guys are getting some early stage information. But yeah, this is this whole geospatial movement, and it's a lot. I'm a girl from East St. Louis. I went to Dunbar Elementary School, and my mother went to elementary school. I went to the University of Illinois, and I've had the opportunity to work with some pretty big companies, live and work around the world, and to be able to come back to this part of my life and start to build companies, or at least we sure are trying, and do something that I've always loved to do in aviation and aerospace, and work with companies like this. This is amazing. There's a long way to go, and this is hard. It's a lot of hard work in this, but there aren't a lot of people who look like me who are doing this work. So I invite you to, you can do it too. I mean, I grew up across the river. This is our world. This is everybody's world. And this geospatial space is a great place to start. Now, we're talking about on planet. I won't mention it, but we are also talking to some other cool entities that are doing stuff off planet. Check this out. NASA has Dragonfly, which is a life-hunting rotorcraft that's going to be used for the exploration of Titan, which is Saturn's largest moon. And I don't know about you guys. I paid attention in elementary school. I remember all this stuff, all the moons and all the planets and stuff. I don't know just because I know this stuff now. I remember this stuff from back then. Also, the Mars helicopter Scout that's going to be taking off this year. That'll be used also to search for life and also geospatial data on Mars, because we need to know that. Like we map the moon, we need to map Mars. We need to map everything, and you do that with a drone. And here you go. This is off-planet work.
NASA is pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and expanding the limits of technology. I am proud to announce that our next New Frontiers mission, Dragonfly, will explore Saturn's largest moon, Titan. Dragonfly will be the first drone lander with the capability to fly over 100 miles through Titan's thick atmosphere. Titan is unlike any other place in our solar system, and the most comparable to Earth. The instruments on board will help us investigate organic chemistry and search for chemical signatures of past or even present life.
So we have on Titan opportunity to observe the processes that were present on early Earth when life began to form, and possibly even conditions that may be able to harbor life today.
One of the things that is particularly exciting about this mission is that we can do the very detailed chemical measurements, but be able to put them in the context of Titan as a system.
It's the science that really motivates us to do this exciting and difficult mission. Go Dragonfly.
So my ultimate dream before I leave this planet would be to have any of our applications used outside of this Earth. That would be amazing. And if eventually I could take a trip outside the Earth, I don't know if I'd come back, to be quite honest, but I would love that. I like to put the little Bronwyn Morgan flag somewhere on some little planet. But anyway, this means lots of new jobs. Drone pilots, artificial intelligence experts, data scientists, geospatial analysts, geologists, engineers. I just created 3 new job roles that don't exist anywhere on paper yet. They're not even a thing, but I know I need them based on what I'm building. And so I wrote job descriptions, and it's kind of funny how you manifest stuff. I wrote the job descriptions, and now we have a partner, and they're like, hey, we want to be your team that maintains some of this other cool stuff that we're building. I'm like, I already have job descriptions for that. And they were like, great, we didn't even know what to call it. So we're actually about to form an agreement for some new job roles. They're nowhere on paper yet. You can't even go look them up online. They don't exist, but they will. We don't have them available yet for St. Louis, and they're a little ways off. We will be testing some stuff, but eventually it will be a thing. But there's so many opportunities. Some of these things you will not need a 4-year degree for. I support 4-year degrees. I support master's degrees, PhDs, and the more you have, the better. But you can learn how to code, software engineering, data science. So some of these things do require advanced degrees because the detail of this is very heavy duty, but you can do it. But this is where we're going in geospatial. And this is my company and others we're just beginning to scratch the surface. We need diversity. We need you. I'd love for you to become drone pilots. I would love for you to start to learn about aviation and aerospace and data science, artificial intelligence, whatever, and any of these things that really get you excited. I'm not an expert in each of those areas. I'm just the strategist behind it and putting the pieces together to deliver against the business goals for my customers. So I'm the business person, but I also have the technical expertise as a pilot. I'm not an artificial intelligence expert, but I know how to hire what I need to deliver what it is I want them to do. I need data scientists. I'm not a data scientist. You're not going to catch me behind on a computer coding. That's not my skill set. That's not what I do. I'm not very good at detail. I'm a big picture thinker. And it's my job to run the company, manage a team, motivate them, challenge them, and deliver for our customers and make sure that we're the best at it. I'll leave this with you and open the floor for some questions. One of our customers that we fly for, we've not had a lot of work just yet. We're building, and I'm a tiny, tiny, tiny little company. But they said, we were flying during a hurricane, and they said, you guys were the best. And it was me and all these other companies, mostly male companies. There were really no other diversity. He said, you got the job done. You guys work 24/7. You got the data that we needed. You work with the military to shut down the airfield. My mission commander at the time, who was an aircraft pilot, he was like, I can't shut down that military base. I said, call the air boss at the airfield and tell them this. He said, they're going to shut down the airfield for you. And they said, call them back if they need to stop all the traffic. I had military jets and everything on hold until we did what we did for our customer. And we did it. We stayed up. I kept the customer personally updated, all night. And he said, we are willing to pay more for that. So you got to go above and beyond. This is about you, your brand. You own it. Your work, if you put out bad work, nobody's going to pay for that. If you put out good work, people will come to you. This is hard stuff, but it's fun, it's amazing, and we're feeling our way through it. So I invite you into this world. I can't think of anything else other than some very cool robots to show you that I think is pretty amazing in terms of the workforce of the future. So I'm done talking. I want to open the floor for questions, and I'll let Dr. Rosin determine how long I have.
Well, at this point, thank you so much. I'm excited. I wish I was younger. Let's go ahead and get our young people engaged at this point. Any questions that you all have, this is the time to raise them, or any, comments, pertaining to what Miss Morgan just presented to you. This is the time. Okay, Kenyatta, unmute.
You were right, it's Kenyatta. But one of my questions would be, so for the jobs that you're creating now, what would be the line of education that you need to be in to be qualified for the jobs?
Awesome. Great question. Well, first of all, it is just a general sense. First of all, just general common sense. Excuse me. Sometimes I'm not seeing a lot of that lately. Just basic, like, how do you get things done, start and finish. But a lot of this is also rooted in communication systems, operations, basically understanding a process and how to get things done. And a lot of that is just basic communication skills, basic math skills, basic science skills, and then we will require some understanding of aviation. Some of it is light technical, and a lot of this will be on the job training, because some of this there's no classroom that prepares you for it. Some of it's engineering related, but the roles will vary. Some of the roles, like even marketing, marketing is pretty standard stuff, right? But will you be able to market advanced technology? And the terminology is a little bit different. The audience is a little bit different. What gets people engaged when you're talking about this stuff? I've sold everything. When I worked for Procter & Gamble, I sold shampoo and soap and detergent, and that's what P&G makes. I went to Coke. I sold Coca-Cola. Now we're selling drone services. So it's kind of understanding the industry, but a lot of it is on the job training. But I look for people that are curious, people who are go-getters. I like people who just, hey, I want to be a part of this. How do I do this? I want to be a part of this. Hey, I found this. Can I work on this? That attitude of leadership, not pushiness, but leadership is what will get you noticed, because it's about people who want to stay to get the work done. A lot of what we're into, all of us, me and my peers, are feeling our way through it. But it's that sense of structure around getting your work done. But good questions, a good question rather.
Okay, how about anyone else? This is the time, you all. Let's not be bashful.
So I had a quick question for you. My name is Bob McNair from St. Louis University. I was just trying to find out how long the process is for pilot training.
It really depends. That's a word we get tired of hearing, but our program, when we're doing our live programs, we can take you through the training over a weekend. It's a very intense 2 days. I mean, it is an intense data dump. Flight training, we could probably do over, like, you could take as much as you'd like, but introductory class is also probably about 2 to 4 days, so that you feel very comfortable with your equipment and then how to fly it. And then we are working on various levels of additional training. But you could become a pilot. You could study with us for a good solid weekend and study on your own until you feel comfortable and go take the exam. We do offer an online program at Airversity, and it's self-paced. You got videos and quizzes, and so therefore, if you're working, it makes it so much easier because you can go back and review it and then make sure you feel comfortable with the material. And that can take you as little as, I think, honestly, 3 weeks. If you've got a lot of committed time, it might take you 6. And then I always suggest to people that once you kind of go into the areas that you struggle with and make sure you feel comfortable with it, then right before the exam, I crunched, like for 2 days before I crunched on everything. And then I went to take the exam while it was fresh. And I think I missed maybe 2 questions. So yeah, I think if you do it online and you really say, I'm going to set aside time, you can do it in 3 weeks. But and that's at a work with you working and not feeling stressed. I studied for over a year because I was working. I actually studied with pilots, and they were I was learning private pilot ground school stuff. And then we started going too far. I was like, okay, this is taking me into larger aircraft. Then I started studying with a different set of pilots. And then I started Part 107. So by the time I got to all the drone stuff, I knew all the basic aviation pilot requirements. And then the drone regulations were pretty simple, but it's a lot of stuff. It's very detailed. You've got to know those nuanced details. The exam, the FA exam, is $150 on top of our fees to train. If you don't pass, you take it again. They charge you another $150. We actually, through our program, give you your money back if you don't pass it, and we'll even tutor you on the tough part so that you can go take it again. It's not hard. The FA exam is written. Some of the questions are very strange. You're like, that is not even a good question. But it's not, I don't think it's very difficult. And they're going to be adding on additional requirements. So the Part 107 is just an entry. They'll be doing flight, like with driver's license. Not only do you take the ground training or the classroom, you have to demonstrate you can drive. They're going to start adding on different certifications for different types of equipment, different types of flight, and being able to demonstrate that you can fly. So I would say get your Part 107 now.
Is there any age cutoff? I mean, because I do believe we talked about you can become a drone pilot as young as 16, but is there an age cutoff?
I think it's 65. I think that's right. I think it is 65 because it's pretty commensurate with traditional commercial pilots. So if you're like a captain for Delta, you're cut off at a certain point. They did, if I'm remembering this correctly, extended because there's such a need for airline pilots right now. We're upside down on that. And a lot of the captains who had the long range, big aircraft experience were retiring and they didn't have anybody to replace them, but they had all these routes and they just can't not, fly from Atlanta to Sydney. So they offered these gentlemen, mostly men, probably almost all men, to stay on for a little bit longer with some exceptions, and they paid them handsomely. I do know a couple of pilots who were older and were retiring because they did have the qualifications, and they flew for like a year, and they bought houses in France and Porsches cash just because they were getting paid that kind of extra money. Because they, when you have the skill and you're needed, you're in demand. This is whole supply, demand supply economics class. You get paid premium. They were like, okay, I'll fly 10 more legs and I'll buy a new boat because they were being paid that well. So this is a great industry. It's a lot of fun.
Could you give us a general price, or not so much price range, but salary? Let's go that way. Salary range, for
a drone pilot. Well, let me start off on the high end and then bring it back down. Right now on the West Coast, because everything's a little bit more expensive on the coast, but in California, a qualified drone pilot that has years of experience, has flown multiple types of aircraft in multiple settings, and really knows their stuff, is making somewhere around $200,000 a year plus, $250,000. Hard to compete with the West Coast for talent because of that. So I can't, I personally can't afford to pay anybody $250,000. Our model is different right now, but it is changing. Entry-level drone pilot, you got your Part 107, you got your drone, got to have your insurance, and you're an independent contractor working for companies like mine. You're probably going to come in somewhere around 40, for me, at least 40, 45 an hour, roughly. Some other companies, I've seen them bring in people somewhere around 25 an hour. That's at the lower end, but those are very entry stage. But you should expect that because you just haven't had enough experience yet. You've not flown enough equipment yet. Can you even read a mission? Because when we fly, we send you the mission requirements. You got to know what a KML is. You got to know different elevations. You got to know how to operate the equipment. And it takes time, like everything else. I will be getting my certification to pilot urban air mobilities aircraft. I can't go and command a large aircraft like that. I don't have the skills yet. So it's all skill commensurate, but it's coming. And then eventually we're going to put you behind the screen. You'll be operating these drones behind the screen. You won't even be out there. And you will also, just like everything else, you'll have to demonstrate that you can manage complex missions. But it's just learning. That's all it is.
Okay, so let's try to wrap up. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we got Kenyatta has another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Twin has a question.
Okay.
Twin. Go ahead, Kenyatta first, then Twin. I got you.
Okay, got you. Okay.
So what is the growth opportunities like? So you get in the job, but what else can you do? How can you better your career and make a better career for yourself, basically? Like, what other options to expand on what you know when you're coming in the business?
Well, it depends on what route you want to go. So let's just take the drone pilot route. You would come in, just like anything else, build up to larger equipment, bigger projects, then eventually probably move into a mission commander role or UAS operations role where you're managing an entire team, an entire fleet. You're the liaison between the company, the customers, and the pilots and the missions. And then probably move into executive officer role, chief operations officer, if that's the route you wanted to take. If you came in in a data science role, managing from a data science analyst, you would then move into managing a team, data engineers and data scientists, and then probably chief scientist or chief artificial intelligence role. You came in under dev or development versus someone that's doing web development and then maybe and/or software engineering. And you, again, it's like managing a team, managing the overall strategy, the tech strategy, and then you can move into chief technical officer. Urban air mobility, kind of the same thing. It just depends on what your skill set is. Head of engineering, it's just all about step changes as you move up. Or you could decide you want to be an entrepreneur, create your own company. Do you want to work for someone or do you want to work for yourself? It all really kind of depends. Or the other option is to go into academia and teach it, where you're teaching people how to do it.
Mr. Ferguson, you had a question or comment?
No, that's fine. Emil, go ahead, Emil.
Yeah, I was wondering how diverse this was in this type of career. Like, is there a lot of people of color? Are there women?
No, honestly.
None?
No, there are some, yeah, but it's not very diverse. There are a couple of organizations committed to women in drones. One of my friends runs one. She's from East St. Louis by happenstance. She lives in Chicago, and her organization is called Women in Drones. And she is the leading nonprofit organization committed to women in this industry, all women, not just Black women. And she's from East St. Louis. Can you believe that? She's got customers, partners all over the world. And she's a friend of mine. There and others, other organizations also around the country. As it relates to Black people, not a lot, but let me break this up into two areas. There's one that's geospatial, and there's one that's like drones. Geospatial is a big body of work, separate and apart just from drones. That is the analysis of the data, it's the academics of the data, it's the data scientist, it's satellites, it's drones. So it's a bigger body of work, government as well as the private sector. Probably a percentage of Black people in that, companies like Esri, organizations like NGA, governmental entities, probably, this is a guess, I don't have this number, but probably somewhere around 3% overall. In the drone sector, Black people, Black men and women, I would say we're probably 1% of all, maybe 2%. Black women, less than 1%. It's a huge space for opportunity. So you can imagine most of the places I walk into and doors that I'm in, there's somebody else like me in it. But I am encouraging that, and we're starting to see more and more. But I am starting to see more women. I go to different events. I'm seeing a lot of young women on drone teams, flight team. My mission commander, the person that manages all of my UAS operations, because I don't have time to do all that when I'm trying to run these companies. She is a pilot. She flies every day. She's Latina. She lives in Nevada. She's awesome. She can fly anything. She works with, her teams are mostly men, mostly military, and she gets it done. And she's got that attitude, the one I told you I love, that just like she takes the message, what else would you like me to do this week? And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. So yeah, so we're coming. It's just a matter of just building the pipeline.
Okay, I got a question.
Yes, sir.
As we advance towards 5G in terms of the networks, can you see how that's going to affect or improve your field of work?
Absolutely. I had two events yesterday talking specifically about this subject. 5G is what's needed. That's the only way that this industry, in addition to equipment, battery improvement, will help us grow. It is 5G, because for us to do autonomous flight, we need a lot more bandwidth. For us to send data back and forth quickly, which is what we're working on, I need 5G. And as I'm working in remote areas and hard to reach areas, 4G LTE just can't do it. So 5G is coming. We've got partners. Actually, as we're talking, every now and then you see me look over, I'm looking at folks from some of the major telecom companies that we're working to partner with, who are building out these networks. There are certain pockets of the US where 5G is being tested. And for you guys that may not be aware, 5G is the next generation, or the fifth generation of the wireless network. is what Mr. Ferguson is speaking to. This will make virtual reality and augmented reality on your phones an unbelievable experience. Are any of you guys Trekkies? If you watch Star Trek, the old ones, there was this thing called a holodeck, and that's where people went to vacation and they were immersed in an experience. I've had an opportunity to do some of that work with some companies that were working with some advanced technologies with DARPA, and I've gotten a chance to do some stuff where I'm like, I don't even believe this stuff even exists on the planet. You need a lot of communication capability, because a lot of data. And so right now, this is going to require a lot of investment, public and private investment. No, AT&T can't do it alone. T-Mobile, Sprint, who just merged, they can't do it alone. This has to be a collective. And what it is that it's shorter waves so that you're able to get this intensity of the capability. And I keep doing this of the pipes of information coming. So the antennas will be much smaller. I don't know if they'll be that small, but they'll be much smaller, and they'll be clustered together. And so they'll be in shorter proximity to each other so that you can get the best experience right where you are. And for my industry, we're actually putting together, my company rather, a solution right now that will help us with our autonomous testing that we're about to embark on. And it is all about 5G. So 5G is just, as well as AI, or just in autonomy, are just as big a part of the drone industry, and will help accelerate geospatial data so much faster. So great question. I got something I'm going to send you. Do I have it with me? I left it. I want to get your address over there, or I'll give it to Dr. Ross, or I'll drop them off or something. I got some for you guys to share. It's called 5G for Dummies. It's awesome.
Good.
Great to share with the kids.
Okay, and as we wrap up, before we do so, Bronwyn, I do want to let you know a lot of what you're talking about today, we'll continue to build on it through some of the upcoming virtual presentations. For example, toward the end of this month, we'll have a presentation by a satellite engineer named Kenneth Harris II. He's at NASA, and he's the youngest that, in the history of NASA to work on these different satellites. So we're very excited to have him, and he'll be talking about some of this exciting technology as it pertains to, what he does in designing and working on the satellites. And then, of course, we'll have from Boeing, Dr. Chambliss, and she'll be talking about some of the materials and how you have to take in consideration when you're designing as an engineer the different materials for all these different aircraft and aerospace type equipment. And then, of course, Dr. Robert Catskill Clemens is going to talk about the role of not only GIS, but 5G and Smart City Initiative. So what you're talking about is just a wonderful way so that, as we plan out these other presentations, they'll start seeing the connections. Okay.
Perfect.
Trying to do.
That's great. It all ties together. I mean, guys, I just did an event in Atlanta yesterday. We got an event coming up in St. Louis in the end of August. I'll let Dr. Roz know so she can make sure everybody, it's not going to be, it will be virtual, I think. We're trying to figure out how we're going to do part live, part virtual, but talking about a lot of this stuff. So come on in. Let's figure it out. There's a lot here. I think a lot of companies are starting to get themselves positioned here. And so it's you just have to kind of jump in. But thank you for the time. Appreciate it. Dr. Raj, you're always doing great work. And of course, with your buddies over there, doing, Superman and Batman, Mr. Ferguson and Mr. Bass.
We're the Blues Brothers today.
I'll take the Blues Brothers.
Kenyatta, no.
No, she's like, no.
Don't do it, twins.
No.
No.
Wonder Twins,
okay.
nothing.
We'll say that in house, okay? All right.
Captain America and Black Panther. I don't know. We're gonna come up with something.
We just wanted to thank you, Ms. Morgan, for all your great insight. You're showing a lot of technology that their generation is going to be exposed to, and one of my dreams since I was a kid is to go up into space. I don't ever know if that's going to be possible while I'm still here, but I got to say that I think the future is very bright for them. And if they can start to make those connections now, the best is yet to come for them.
I agree. We got to heal our nation, heal the world, and then get on to working on some amazing and cool things to help make society better, not just tech for the sake of tech, but to do it to make a difference. So thank you guys. I know my time is always limited because I have so much to do. It's hard for me to commit to everything, but I'm gonna do my best, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon.
All right, well, everyone, let's give her a hand. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Have a good day.
All right, you too. Bye bye.